No one knew who he really was. To them, he was just another young black man stepping into a luxury car dealership. But what they didn't realize was, a young black man in his late 20s stepped into an ultra-modern Lamborghini showroom, dressed in a simple hoodie, clean jeans, and sneakers. Heads barely turned. The sales team, dressed in sharp suits, glanced his way, then looked right through him. He wasn't the typical client they catered to. At least, that's what their eyes said. He walked slowly past the polished cars, admiring the curves of a golden Aventador. He knew everything about it: the engine, the build year, the upgrades. He could afford 10 of them, but the staff didn't know that. One salesman whispered to another, "He's just here to take pictures." Another said, "Probably can't even afford a test drive." They ignored him. Some even stepped away. All except her. A young woman, confident, elegant, with sharp eyes and a gentle smile, walked over and asked, "Can I help you, sir?" He looked up. "I'd like to buy this one. Right now, full payment." Blinked, surprised, but she didn't doubt him. "Of course. Let me get the paperwork." The room went quiet. The other staff laughed behind glass. "He's joking," one muttered. But moments later, her computer pinged. Payment confirmed, not financed, not loaned, paid in full by Jordan Blackwell, billionaire investor and majority shareholder of the very dealership they worked for. Then came the silence, then the panic. Jordan looked at them, calm. "Funny how you treat people when you don't know who they are." He turned to the woman. "Thank you for your respect. You'll be promoted, effective immediately." He tossed his keys, smiled, and added, "And I'll be reviewing the rest of the staff, personally." The glass walls couldn't hide their shame, because the man they ignored owned everything they stood in. The showroom felt frozen in time. Jordan Blackwell, still dressed like any other young man walking the streets of Atlanta, stood next to his newly purchased Lamborghini, golden paint glistening under the showroom lights. He leaned casually against the hood, arms folded, as the female sales rep, Maya Torres, returned with his receipt and title papers in a black leather folder. She smiled, handing it over. "Mr. Blackwell, everything's finalized. Congratulations," he returned the smile. "No, congratulations to you. You're the only person in this place who treated me like a customer and not a stereotype." From the corner, the general manager, a pale, balding man named Rick, hurried forward, forced smile stretched thin. "Mr. Blackwell, I had no idea you were visiting today. We would have rolled out the red carpet if we knew." Jordan didn't even blink. "That's exactly the problem. You only roll it out for people you recognize. I've owned majority shares of this dealership for almost 3 years. I walked in like this on purpose. Wanted to see how y'all treated folks when no cameras were around. Now I know." One of the other salesmen, Brad, the one who muttered about him just taking pictures, stepped forward nervously. "Sir, I apologize. It was a misunderstanding." Jordan turned his gaze toward him, eyes calm but heavy. "Was it? Or was it the first honest reaction you had all day?" Maya glanced around, unsure of what would happen next, but Jordan turned back to her. "Maya, I'm making some changes. Starting today, your lead sales executive for this location. You'll report directly to me from now on. And I'll be expecting a proposal from you next week on how to improve customer experience, especially for people who don't look rich." Her mouth dropped open slightly, stunned. "Are you serious?" "Dead serious," he said. "And Rick," Jordan looked at the GM whose smile had evaporated, "I want the rest of your staff in sensitivity and ethics training by the end of the week, or I'll clean house myself." He clicked his key fob. The golden Lambo's doors lifted like wings. "And someone fix your hiring standards while you're at it," Jordan added as he stepped into the car. "Because if you don't know how to treat people, you're not selling my cars." The engine roared to life. Jordan gave Maya a nod and a wink, then pulled slowly out of the showroom, leaving behind silence. and a lesson no one in that dealership would forget. The golden Lamborghini sat idling in the center of the showroom, its engine purring like a lion waiting to be unleashed. But Jordan Blackwell didn't drive off just yet. He stepped out again, slowly, deliberately, and turned to face the team. "Actually," he said, his voice calm but commanding, "I'm not done." The employees froze. The air was thick now, not just with tension, but realization. Jordan walked to the front counter where 3 staff members stood behind computers, pretending to look busy. "You," he pointed at one of them, a man named Derek, "you saw me walk in. You looked me up and down like I was trash on your marble floors. Then you whispered to your buddy and laughed." Derek swallowed hard. "Sir, you said I probably couldn't afford the seats, let alone the car. That's what you said, right?" Jordan tilted his head. "Want me to pull the security footage?" Silence. Jordan nodded. "Didn't think so. Pack your stuff. You're done here." Derek's jaw dropped, but no one came to his defense. Not even Rick, the manager, who now looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. Jordan turned next to the assistant manager, a woman named Claire, who had walked past him earlier, nose high. "Claire, how long have you worked here?" 4 years, she answered carefully. "And in 4 years, how many black clients have you sold a car to?" She hesitated. "Well, we don't exactly track that. I do." Jordan pulled out his phone, tapped it, and turned the screen to her. 0, not 1, not even a test drive. In 4 years. Claire's face went pale. Jordan tucked the phone away. "This isn't about race. This is about respect. And too many people like you only respect money when it's worn on someone's wrist, not when it walks in wearing sneakers." He turned to Maya. "I want this dealership to change, and I want you to lead it. Not just in sales, but in culture. Build a team that treats everyone like they belong here, whether they drive up in a Bentley or walk in with bus fare." Maya nodded, eyes wide but fierce. "Yes, sir." Jordan glanced at the rest of the staff. The world is watching now. This place is about to be on every news site in the country. Not because of what you did, he glanced at Derek, but because of what we're about to do. Change it. He looked one last time at Rick, the sweating GM. "You can stay, but you'll be shadowing Maya for the next month. Learn how to treat people before you manage them." Jordan stepped back into the Lamborghini. This time, he didn't stop. The doors lowered. The engine roared, and as he rolled toward the showroom exit, employees stared, not at a customer, but at the man who reminded them that real power doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it walks in quietly, listens, and only then reveals the truth. He didn't come to buy a car. He came to test their character. The golden Lamborghini rolled to a gentle stop just before the automatic glass doors. But Jordan didn't press the gas yet. He looked through the windshield and saw something that made him pause. A group of 3 teenagers peeking in through the glass, their faces pressed against the window. They weren't dressed fancy, just local kids from the neighborhood, wide-eyed and grinning, mouths open in awe at the gleaming car and the man behind the wheel. One of them pointed at Jordan, mouthing, "That's him. That's the billionaire." Inside the dealership, the employees were still silent. Rick stood frozen, his hands clasped in front of him, trying to hold on to what dignity he had left. Derek had already grabbed his coat. Claire sat down, numb. The reality was settling in like cement. Jordan smiled softly, turned off the engine, and stepped out again. He walked slowly back inside, looking at Maya. "Got a minute?" "Of course," she said, standing straighter. "I want a new initiative. Starting now, we're offering monthly community drive days. We open this showroom to the public. Bring in kids, local families, especially from underserved neighborhoods. Give them rides, let them sit in the cars, show them what's possible." Maya's eyes lit up. "I love that," Jordan nodded. "And make sure every employee attends. I don't just want them to sell dreams. I want them to learn what it means to represent one." He turned to Rick again. "Every Saturday for the next 3 months, this place is a classroom. Call it Respect on Wheels. I'll cover the budget. You just make sure your people show up on time." Rick muttered, "Yes, sir," as Jordan made his way back toward the car for the final time. A young intern, barely 20, wearing a too large name badge, hurried over nervously. "Mr. Blackwell?" Jordan stopped. "Yeah? I just wanted to say thank you. For real. My cousin got rejected here last month, but I didn't have the courage to speak up. I didn't think anyone would listen." Jordan placed a hand on his shoulder. "You spoke up today. That's what matters." Then he leaned in. "You keep doing the right thing, even when it's hard. And one day, you'll be in charge of places like this too." The kid smiled, eyes watering. Jordan finally returned to the Lamborghini, eased into the seat, and tapped the touchscreen. The music came on, soft jazz humming through the speakers. As the glass doors parted and the Lambo glided out into the warm afternoon sun, the staff inside stood in silence, watching the man they'd once ignored become the legend they would never forget. Outside, the crowd of teenagers pulled out their phones, recording, cheering, running alongside the car as Jordan rolled down the window and flashed a peace sign. One of the kids shouted, "You're a king!" Jordan laughed. "Nah, just a man who doesn't forget where he came from." And then, with a deep roar of the engine, the car took off down the boulevard, leaving a trail of gold and change in its wake. The automatic glass doors slowly closed behind the golden Lamborghini as it pulled away. But the silence inside the dealership remained deafening. Everyone stood still, as if time itself had frozen around them. The only thing moving was Maya, already taking notes, already thinking ahead. Then Jordan's voice echoed through the intercom. "Rick, activate the showroom's main screen." Everyone jumped. Rick scrambled to the wall panel, pressed a few buttons, and the giant LED display above the showroom lit up, showing Jordan's live video feed from inside the Lamborghini. He was calm, seated in the driver's seat, sunglasses on, looking into the rear-view camera, but his words were sharp and crystal clear. "To my entire staff watching right now, this is your wake-up call." He paused. "You work in a place that sells dreams. You dress in suits, wear watches, speak in rehearsed pitches. But some of you forgot who you're selling to. You think money wears a certain look, that it talks a certain way, that it only comes in certain colors. Today, that illusion shattered." On the screen, his face leaned in slightly. "I've walked into boardrooms where billionaires wore hoodies. I've sat across from kings who wore old boots. And I've seen too many people, especially black and brown, treated like they don't belong until they pull out a platinum card." He looked dead into the camera. "But from now on, if you work under my roof, you will treat everyone like they belong, because if you don't, you won't." Then he leaned back again, relaxed. To those who laughed, whispered, or stood silent, "You've got 24 hours to decide whether you want to be part of this new chapter. If not, Maya will accept your resignation letters tomorrow morning." The screen flicked off. Silence again. Rick turned slowly toward Maya. "He just made you the new director, didn't he?" Maya, still stunned but composed, nodded. "That's right. Effective immediately." Then she turned to the floor. "Let's make something clear. I'm not here to punish anyone. I'm here to rebuild. If you're ready to be better, stay. If not, don't waste time." A few employees, ones who had never spoken a disrespectful word but had also never stepped up, began applauding quietly, and then louder, until the entire room was filled with claps, except for the few who hung their heads in shame and quietly slipped toward the back door. As Maya stood in the center of the showroom, new leadership in her step and purpose in her eyes, one of the neighborhood teens from outside opened the door and walked in, still holding his phone. He pointed at her and said, Are you in charge now? She smiled. Yeah, I guess I am. He nodded. Cool. I want to be like you when I grow up. Maya knelt to his level and smiled. Then I'll make sure this place is still standing when you do. And as the boy turned and ran back out, the sound of the golden Lamborghini echoing in the distance reminded them all. Change didn't just visit the dealership, it took ownership. And it wasn't leaving. Later that same afternoon, just as the team began processing the whirlwind that had hit them, the doors opened again. But this time, it wasn't a billionaire in disguise. It was a woman in a sharp gray suit, carrying a camera crew behind her. Vanessa King, lead reporter for a major news network, stepped inside with a producer and cameraman in tow. Her phone buzzed constantly, notifications flooding in. The clip of Jordan Blackwell's speech, streamed from the dealership's screen, had gone viral. Over 4 million views in 2 hours. She smiled professionally. I'm looking for Maya Torres. Maya, still standing near the golden parking slot where the Lambo had been, blinked. That's me. Vanessa extended her hand. Vanessa King, GNN News. We've got confirmation that Mr. Jordan Blackwell appointed you as the new director of this location. We'd love a few words for tonight's national segment. Some employees stopped mid-task. Rick stepped back awkwardly. Maya glanced around the showroom, at the team still shaken, some ashamed, a few inspired. She took a breath, then nodded. Let's talk. They set up in front of the customer lounge, framing Maya beside one of the most luxurious models on the floor. The lights came on. The camera rolled. Vanessa leaned in. Today, the world saw a man defy stereotypes. But what does this moment mean to you? Here, inside these walls? Maya looked directly at the lens. It means this is no longer just a dealership. This is where respect becomes policy, where appearance won't dictate value, where young black boys and girls can walk in and see someone like them in charge. She continued. Mr. Blackwell didn't just challenge this business. He challenged the industry. And if we're smart, we won't just follow his lead. We'll build on it. The camera cut. The crew nodded in approval. Vanessa whispered, that was powerful. As they packed up, a few customers began walking in, some out of curiosity, others from social media buzz. But this time, they were greeted with smiles, with offers of water, with eye contact. Rick even helped hold the door. Behind the scenes, Maya went to her new office, the glass room that used to belong to Rick. It still had his nameplate. She calmly removed it, placed it on the desk, and wrote a sticky note that read, Leadership isn't a title. It's how you treat people when no one's watching. Then she looked out across the showroom, where old habits were being unlearned and new ones were forming. That's when her phone lit up. Incoming, call, Jordan Blackwell, she answered. Yes, Mr. Blackwell. His voice was steady. You did good today, Maya. Thank you. You ready to take this nationwide? Maya paused, heart racing. What do you mean? Jordan replied. I'm turning my dealership brand into a national franchise, with you as Chief Operations Officer. We're going to change how luxury treats people across the country. And just like that, her world changed again. As she hung up, Maya whispered to herself, Nobody saw this coming. But that's the thing about change. It never asks permission. As the sun dipped lower outside the expansive glass windows of the dealership, the golden reflection of the Lamborghini shimmered faintly on the floor, like a reminder that everything had changed. Inside, the once sterile showroom now buzzed with an unfamiliar energy. Humility. Maya sat alone in the newly claimed director's office, staring out at the team as they slowly reorganized themselves. Gone were the smug postures and lazy indifference. In their place were lowered voices, thoughtful glances, and a cautious respect, for her, for each other, and for the idea that anyone could walk through those doors and be something more than what they appeared. Suddenly, the dealership doors opened again. But this time it wasn't a customer. It was Jordan, back again, in person. Not in a hoodie now. He wore a fitted blazer over a black t-shirt, walking with the unbothered calm of someone who had nothing to prove. The staff froze. Maya stood quickly. "Mr. Blackwell." He raised a hand. "No titles today, just Jordan." He walked the floor slowly, taking it all in. He approached Derek's old desk, paused, then turned to the youngest sales trainee in the room, a Latina, college student named Sophia, who had barely spoken during the chaos. "You want to keep working here?" he asked gently. She nodded fast. "Yes, sir." "Then I want you shadowing Maya full-time. You have the right energy. Keep it." He moved on, then paused at the center of the showroom, right where the Lambo had sat. "You know," he said, turning to face everyone, "I didn't come here today to fire people or make a statement. I came because I was tired of watching the world teach the same lesson over and over, that respect has to be earned, but only by people who don't look like me." He looked at each of them. "I want this dealership, and everyone after it, to prove the opposite. That respect is the default, not the exception. That customers don't have to dress the part to be treated like they matter. That your job isn't just to sell luxury, it's to represent it." Rick lowered his head, quietly listening. Jordan continued, "Some of you will rise, some of you will quit, and a few of you will fight the change. That's fine. But this place, starting right now, is different." He turned to Maya. "I'm making this location the flagship of the Blackwell Auto experience. Every new store will model what happens here. You're not just leading a dealership anymore, Maya. You're leading a movement." Maya felt her knees lock, the weight of responsibility landing with fire and pride. Jordan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Inside, a custom key fob, trimmed in gold, engraved with the Blackwell logo and her initials. "This is for your next car. Because leaders don't walk, they drive the mission forward." The staff clapped softly, slowly building into something real. The moment held. And then, to everyone's surprise, Jordan sat down on the leather couch beside the customer lounge and said, "Now let's order pizza. We've got work to do. And tomorrow we rebuild, together." The kid smiled, eyes watering. That night, as the staff ate pizza in a showroom once filled with ego and exclusion, something unspoken passed between them all. This wasn't just a job anymore. It was the beginning of a legacy. And under Maya's leadership, with Jordan's vision, backing every step, respect would never be optional again. The scent of pizza drifted through the air, mixing with the quiet hum of overhead lights. But this wasn't just a dinner. It was a moment. A pause between what was and what could be. Jordan stood again, holding a slice in one hand, but now every eye in the showroom was locked on him, not because of who he was, but because of what he stood for. He looked around the room and spoke, not like a CEO, but like a man who had walked the hard road himself. "You know what they didn't see when I walked in here today?" he asked, pacing slowly across the floor. "They didn't see the 18-hour days I pulled just to afford my first used car. They didn't see the banks that laughed at me when I said I wanted to invest. They didn't see the nights I slept in my office building an empire off vending machines and code while people partied and doubted. They saw a hoodie. They saw brown skin. They saw someone who couldn't. And they were wrong." He pointed toward the door. "Out there, millions of people are told what they're not. Too young, too poor, too dark, too loud, too different. But what they don't realize is, those very things they laugh at, those are superpowers." Now he looked directly at the youngest faces in the room. Sophia, a delivery guy just finishing a drop-off, even one of the teens peeking in through the window again. You don't need permission to be great. You don't need approval to walk into a room like you belong. The world may label you, doubt you, undervalue you, but every time they do, it's an opportunity to show them that respect is not a reward, it's a requirement. He took a deep breath and smiled. This dealership is now proof that character outweighs clothing, that how you treat people is the first test, not how much you sell. And if you walk out of here thinking this is just about Lamborghinis, you missed the whole point. He walked back over to Maya and handed her the final company file, one labeled Nationwide Rollout Plan. This is the blueprint, and you, Maya, you're going to lead a revolution in how luxury sees people. Maya nodded, tearful but steady. Let's make history. Jordan looked out at the staff one last time and left them with this. Never. Forget. It's not about what they think of you when you walk in the room. It's about what they feel when you walk out. And as he stepped out the door, into the golden light of dusk, every person inside that dealership knew they had been part of something bigger than a business. They had witnessed the birth of a new standard. And from that day forward, under Maya's leadership, they weren't just selling cars. They were selling hope, excellence, and the undeniable truth that greatness has no dress code. They judged him by what he wore. They ignored him because of his skin. But when the truth rolled in on golden wheels, everything changed. This wasn't just a sale. It was a statement, a message to every room that ever doubted someone who looked different. Respect isn't earned when you're rich. It's owed because you're human. And now, one woman leads a revolution. One man shattered every stereotype. And one dealership became a symbol of what's possible when character drives the story. The world watched him walk in as a stranger and leave as the owner of the future. This is more than a car story. This is a movement, and it's just getting started.